I think in this journey of our children with communication impairment, most of us would have been proposed either to choose a communication system, or you would have already tried a communication system in your earlier times, maybe in terms of say using pictures or gestures, and you would have reached a particular point where you don't know how to go about it. You would also be at a point, at least some of you would be at a point where you're still having your own doubts on whether this is the right direction for your child. So I think today's session, we believe, should be an inspiration to all of those parents who are literally sitting on the fence trying to decide, should I even try a communication system for my child? Or my child uses few my child uses few words, so is my child ready to use a communication system now? Or I know my child requires a communication system, but how do I use this communication system in school or other environment? And I think the most common question that we encounter is, will my child get dependent on a communication system or a device? The hope that we have today in the end of this presentation is that some of these questions gets answered for you, and you have a little more confidence on moving ahead in this journey with an AAC system. So to start with, today's presentation or today's session would be following up. Basically, we would be covering 4 aspects with AAC. One is how some of our users or some of our parents have used an AAC system to develop communication. We would also be looking at a couple of videos where we are looking at the use of AAC to teach concepts and to develop literacy. We have some videos of users using it for leisure activity, and we have the use of AAC for functional living. Okay, to start with, we will have the first video. I mean, there are some of these videos wherein we will be looking at only how users are using it for requesting their needs. On similar lines, we have Nishant actually indicating his preference in a restaurant. Let's play the video here.
Places to eat. Cream Center.
Yeah. What would you like to eat here?
Paneer Sizzler.
Paneer sizzler. Okay.
Awesome.
Okay, and also. Okay.
You want anything else? One more?
That's it.
And I think the next video is of Archit. Again, requesting for food.
No, I think that's not here.
Please.
Okay.
Archit, yeah, I'll play that.
Archit, what do you want? You can order using Avaz. First, what do you want?
Manchurian French fries.
Manchurian and French fries. Matte? Enough? Pakoda. Okay. Fine.
Yeah. So let's have a question now to Apeksha Bhakre. She is the mother of Hello.
Yeah. Shall I read it out? Shall I read it out?
Sorry, yeah, please.
Yeah, sorry. Apeksha Bakre, mother to 11 and a half year old child on autism spectrum. She's done a course from Action for Autism in Delhi, while she's an Avaz certified educator and is currently pursuing a postgraduate program in autism management from Pune University. She is an engineer by education and has worked as a software engineer. Adyant is 12-year-old who is currently attending an inclusive school, and he was introduced to Avaz by his SLP. Apeksha has been instrumental in convincing the school to accept Avaz as his communication mode and support him with adaptive assessment. So that's a great step by Apeksha. She's also inspired other parents and school authorities to explore Avaz as a communication system.
Yeah. So my question to Apeksha here is, Apeksha, how has the AAC system changed your life and changed your child's life?
yeah, after introducing this AAC system to him, overall we can see a whole family life, and Adyan also, he has settled much. His anxiety level is also down, so we are also at ease. We are not all time puzzled that what is he thinking, what he wants, or is he liked it or he did not like it. Now we are like settled enough, what he can communicate his needs, wants, everything, and at the same time he can tell us that is he happy or he's unhappy with the overall situation. So the overall initially, prior to that, the environment was not that pleasant enough. It was like quite stressful. But after this, the environment at our home is like pleasant and not stressful. He can grab his device and he can tell us what he wants, and he's at ease, and we are also at ease.
Okay. Thank you, Apeksha. I'll come back to you. And
there is a question related to this. Would like to know, since what age did Apeksha start using AAC with her son?
It was 3 years back, somewhere Adyan was around 8.5 years old. That time we started using Avaz with him.
Okay,
it was the lockdown time when, like any other parent, we also showed TV to him, but still he did not enjoy, and he was coming and biting us. Then he wanted us to play some another song for him, and for that he was coming and doing it for us. So after that, the situations improved, and we were also like, okay, we can enjoy our TV time together, where he can also participate in telling that he wants to see this particular song, and like this we can have a discussion also. Is this okay or not okay, playing this song, or I want to play this song, can you allow me, or something like this.
thank you, Apeksha. We have another video of a child, Archit, who is 12 years old. And let us look at how is he requesting for food in a restaurant.
We've seen that actually.
We have seen that, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, the next video is of Manvik and his mother's interaction. And do note how Manvik is trying to negotiate with his mother as he communicates his needs.
What is your name? इसमें बताओ. What is your name? What is your name?
Manvik. I am Manvik.
How old are you? How old are you?
I am 7 years old here.
मानविक को ओके आपको क्या चाहिए मानविक को क्या चाहिए बताओ
Advance. This is to be McDonald's.
मानविक कल मैकडॉनल्ड से खाया था ना फ्रेंच फ्राई खाया था ना बैकपफ भी खाया था ना आपने रोज नहीं डेली नहीं खाते गंदी बात नो कुछ और बताओ और कुछ चाहिए आपको बताओ मम्मा को और कुछ चाहिए क्या चाहिए आपको बताओ दिखाओ मम्मा को बताओ क्या चाहिए आपको
Snacks.
कौन सा क्या चाहिए स्नैक्स में आपको
Chips.
मानविक
Bag. Clear.
और कुछ चाहिए ड्रिंक्स में चाहिए कुछ आपको क्या लोगे क्या चाहिए ड्रिंक नो गुस्सा नहीं ड्रिंक्स में क्या चाहिए
This is McDonald's.
मैकडॉनल्ड्स नहीं बेटे कल खाया था ना आपने
Bag. Clear.
आपको कुछ ड्रिंक्स में चाहिए क्या चाहिए ड्रिंक्स में बताओ मम्मा को बताओ ड्रिंक्स में क्या चाहिए आपको
Drinks.
क्या कोक ओके ओके अभी देती हूँ आपको ओके से ओके
Look at, I think what is interesting in all these videos are the ease in which both the partners, the parent or as you come across the next few videos also, you will see both the partners wherein you have a therapist or a parent who is interacting with the user. Look at the ease in which both the partners are conversing. You could also look at the confidence in the user when he is communicating using a communication system. And lastly, look at the definite response that the child is opting for. I think that is something that we need to look at when we are looking at these videos. We have one more video of Roshni. Lalita, I would continue to need your help before I move into the slideshow.
Yeah. I'm doing.
Thank you. Yeah. So,
Shall I play it?
Yeah, this is a session of Roshni with the therapist.
Look at this girl.
What do you think she will tell her mother?
She doesn't like that, no? So what will she say?
This is in a teletherapy
What will
session.
she
She's
say?
pushing it off. She's pushing it off. What will she say?
What will she say? Look, she doesn't want that. She doesn't want that. So what will she say? Fish. Okay. Okay. Correct. What you did is correct. Wait. Okay. The girl doesn't want it. So what will she say? What will she say? Oh no. No.
No.
I don't want.
Hey, he's
No,
better. That was right.
Look at how Roshni is just not happy with saying no. She actually wanted to use a whole sentence. And that is something that we should be looking at when we are looking at a communication system. We will invite Gayatri. Gayatri is a parent of a 25 years old young adult. She is a certified special educator and she has worked as a special educator in VCAN, a special school in Tamil Nadu, for more than a decade. Currently, she runs a business incorporating Varun in some day-to-day activities. Gayatri has explored various communication options such as gesture systems and picture-based communication system in his childhood before she was introduced to Avaz. Gayatri's current goals with Varun includes making him functionally independent and using Avaz to assist her in their go down. Along with that, she uses Avaz to list down schedules for the day-to-day activities, among many other ways, with her son. So, Gayatri, our question to you would be, what is the right age to start an AAC system?
Actually, there is no such right age, because I started, if you see, I started only at 21, but it is always better to start early, since we can handle it better. But even if it is late, still we can do it. That is what is my point. You can definitely, they can start earlier is better, but since I started only at 21, but still he has got it and he has got it very fast. So it's okay even if we start late, but it's better to start early.
Why do you say, in what ways is it better to start? I mean, what were the benefits that you would say?
See, one is what happens when they grow older is the alternate form of communication is already developed. So we have to respect that form of communication, and then we have to also add some new communication through Avaz. Because say till 17, 18, they will be using some form, say sign language or something, and suddenly we will decide that, no, we are not going to follow the sign language. We have got Avaz, now we will do through this. The child may get confused. So if we are already using, say, sign language or whatever it is, we can continue, but it's better to use AAC with a picture or word or whatever it is. Avaz is the best, one of the best option. So that is what I meant to say, that when they're younger, the alternative mode will not be much there. So you can quickly introduce it. But at the same time, after they grow old, since the learning is faster, so they learn much faster in AAC, because already some learning pattern has been established. So the receptive language is also there, and they can imitate and all these things. You need not teach the older ones because they already know all these things. So they catch up also very fast in if they are old. So that way it works both ways.
Yeah, so I think what you're trying to say is, in the younger age group, it is easy to build up a communication system, whereas in the older age group, you feel that they already have some form of communication and it's easy to build it up from the basics that they already have, right? But you actually
already have.
There is no age to start. You can start it as you're facing it, right? Even at an early age, you would advise parents to start using it.
Yeah, and the compliance is also there at the younger age. You can say you can withdraw only if he gives, you can give something like that. But when they grow old, it becomes difficult because it may end up in a war or some the behavior handling meltdown. But younger age, you can slightly push them a bit. So only if you say we will give or express through Avaz. But in older thing, that thing has to be taken care of, where you don't push them or frustrate them too much. That there for younger also, but younger but compliance is much more in the younger age. Older, they have the personality is already built. So you have to introduce it slowly, but still you can do it. That's what I wanted to say.
Right. The next section, the next section of
there's one question, I think.
Yes.
Does he try for speech therapy or not? Is that the question related to Archit? If so, we are not sure about it. I mean, speech therapy, he is using Avaz, but I'm not sure which question is related to Archit.
Lalita, I just would like to add on to that.
Yeah.
Archit was going to bubble sometime back. Even they started intervention little earlier, 4 years back. So he was tried with other communication methods too. So he went to a speech therapist, and then they came down to Avaz AAC.
Okay.
I would like to I would like clarification here with a question. Does that mean, I mean, are you trying to ask whether the child is opting for speech therapy which focuses on speech development, or speech therapy focusing on other forms of communication? Is that the question you're looking at? I'm not very sure. So maybe you can reword the question and put it so that we can answer it. Yeah. Meanwhile, we will go to the next slide. Isn't it, Lalita? Let's move ahead.
Yeah. We can move ahead.
Yeah. So the next section is about how a communication system can be used to express feelings, opinions, or thoughts. We have Vanshita's video now. Again, Vanshita here is talking about her favorite movie. This is one of the teletherapy sessions.
What is your favorite movie?
The screen is actually from the therapist, and you will see Vanshita in a small box on the top right corner. So that's during the Zoom session. And since, I think
your
the face is
favorite.
3 Idiots.
3 Idiots. Okay.
3 Idiots.
Why did you like that movie?
Why do you like it?
Because it's about dream.
Dreams? Is that what you're trying to say? It's about dreams?
It's about dreams, yes. Wow, that's such a lovely thing to say, Vanshita.
Right. Oh, that was really good talking, Vanshita. Let me remove my. So how do you feel when you watch that movie? How do you feel when you watch that movie?
Yesterday.
Sorry, what was that?
She has said, I feel ecstatic.
Ecstatic.
Look at the choice of words that our AAC users are using. I think that is, this is something that we need to believe that our children have.
What is your favorite movie?
Sorry.
Yeah. It just makes us believe that, the children have a very good inner language, and many a times we are not really exploring that inner language by giving them a very closed option or a closed choice-making option. I will want to add that line again with another video of Aditi. Aditi is now 17 years old. She was introduced to Avaz at the age of 14 years. She is a blogger, an aspiring writer, and a student. And this is about, the video that you're going to watch is about when Aditi was asked a question on how does she find after finding a voice through Avaz. Lalita?
H A Hank U A V A Z. Finding your voice is liberating and cathartic. Thank you, Avaz.
So we just had the last part, we showed it of thank you, Avaz, her typing it out, but the entire sentence was typed by her, which played out in the end. Finding my voice is liberating and cathartic. Thank you, Avaz.
So let's meet Aditi's mother, Shweta.
Hi.
Shweta is a tax consultant by profession, an educator by choice, and a parent to a 17-year-old. Shweta was first introduced to the world of autism when her daughter Aditi was diagnosed with it at the age of 3 years. Over the years, Shweta has experienced the entire gamut of early intervention, speech language therapy, and special education with her daughter. Today, she's an avid blogger who has 18 blogs to her credit on the following link, that is smallstepbigthought.blogspot.com. She is also a published author whose work has been published on Bookosmia.
That is Aditi. Aditi is the avid blogger.
Yes, Aditi is the blogger. Yes, sorry. Yeah. So, Shweta, one question for you. What is the impact of AAC on your child and family?
I think if there's one word to describe the impact that using of Avaz has had on Aditi and on all of us, I think it would be profound. Because see, one thing that we have come to realize is that when children are not able to express what they want to, right? And as they grow up, the need to express goes beyond just their needs, beyond the basic needs. It goes on to emotions, it goes on to thoughts, it goes on to a lot of complex territory. And when they do not have a way to express, it ends in a lot of behaviors, right? And unless a child has a voice, how can a child really express what's going on in her head? So for us, introducing Aditi to Avaz was the first step to really, opening up the world of her mind to us. Because she uses the keyboard on Avaz, which is very similar to the, a laptop's keyboard. And the predictive text that is there on Avaz is very similar to the predictive text that comes through with MacBook. So, initially she started off with expressing, her thoughts and emotions on Avaz. And slowly from there, she graduated to, starting to type little stories, little paragraphs to full-sized blog. It was a journey of 1.5 to 2 years, but I think the journey began with comfort of, with the ease of use that Avaz provided. Basically, it gave her the understanding that the typed word is a way for her to express herself and a way for her to connect with the world and the people around. So it's made a huge impact, right? Today Aditi is a blogger. She's a writer. Her book is also published on Kindle. Lots of things, right? And I think the journey for all of that began with Avaz. So definitely, yes. The impact has been profound.
So would you advise parents to wait for speech because you started it late? Would you say that it is better to wait for speech to develop before you try to take up a communication system?
My answer would be no. I think we need to go back and understand, and let me tell you the reason for that no. We need to go back and understand autism as a socio-communication disorder, right? So even if a child picks up speech, chances are they are not communicating. And when do we want the child to communicate more? In times of distress, when a child is unwell, when a child is stressed out, when a child is not feeling very good, right? So even a very verbal child at times with autism, in a situation of distress, in a situation where, the child is overwhelmed and you really need to know what's happening, right? Verbally, they may not be able to meaningfully tell you what's happening with them. So considering that autism is a social communication disorder, I think a system like Avaz gives them a way to express what's going on within the comfort zone of their sensory requirements. And that is huge because, communication is where I think autism impacts majorly. It impacts big time. no matter where the child is on autism spectrum, communication is a huge challenge. And a device like Avaz, really attempts to augment that communication in a framework that is very sensorially friendly, so easier for a child to do. And that is a huge thing. So definitely no. I think, it should just be a part of, like we say, early intervention, we start speech therapy, right? I think this should also be a part of that.
Yes. Thank you. Let us now, this is Aditi's mother's version about use of Avaz. Let's hear Aditi's version about her own thoughts about how it has impacted her ability to build a family relationships.
P. Delete. O. T. I come from a family of chatterbox and I now have my own voice. That is saying a lot.
It says, she says she belongs to a family of chatterbox. And I think she is now a part of that. She feels very proud about that fact. I have another video of Aditi, but before that, I would want to ask one more question to you, Shweta.
Yeah.
I have already asked you in a different version, but would you want to still wait for speech to develop before you try out a communication system with her?
Definitely not. See, two things. Of course, one thing is Aditi's age, right? She's 17. Now, obviously, I'm not nursing any dreams that she's going to pick up any more speech at 17. And even for a younger child, just to give a little background, I've worked with different children on autism spectrum for over 10 years, right? Even with a younger child, like I told you, speech and communication are two very different things, right? And a lot of people believe that if you give them a system like Avaz, something that is sensorially friendly and something, that they can take to easily, the initiative to speak is lost. I really don't understand the science behind it, because like I told you, with autistic, speech and communication are two very different things, right? Now, what's the point if a child picks up a lot of speech, but the child is in a situation of distress and cannot tell you what's bothering him or her? What's the point in having all that speech, right? All I'm saying is speech and AC can and should peacefully coexist in the lives of autistic children. They are not like, for me and you, speech and communication basically mean the same thing. But for them, it is two very different things. And something like Avaz augments communication, which is a big deal, because that is where the disorder lies. So I really don't, believe in waiting for speech. I don't believe that one impacts the other. And I truly believe that every child needs a voice. And, Avaz is an augmentative communication system which gives voice to lots of children. So really, I don't see any reason why anybody should be waiting or believing that, I'm going to wait for another year, 2 years for speech and stuff like that. Although I'm also guilty of having done that. But I guess it's just experience, right? Once Aditi was introduced to Avaz, and the way it opened up her thoughts and the way it opened up her avenues, and all that she's able to do today. I feel maybe I should have introduced it to her when she was 11 or 12 and not 14 or even 10. But yes, that's the way it is. Yes.
Let's also hear Aditi's version of it.
I think that communication is key to be understood and to learn, and if one does not rule out the other, so why wait? I think that communication is key to be understood and to learn and grow, and one does not rule out the other, so why wait?
So she's basically trying to say, I think they both should coexist. So why wait if one doesn't affect the other?
Again, our apologies to Aditi for cutting down a part of her video, and we have just highlighted the last one, but she has actually typed it on her own. The output is what is the final outcome of her typing. Yes. When Aditi agrees that we should not be looking at speech exclusively and AAC exclusively, they should go hand in hand, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't have an impact on each other.
Yeah, in fact, we are
and also just to add to it, Aditi types out every single alphabet. She uses the type to, speech version, and that takes a little longer. So the videos are fairly long.
Yes. Yeah. So the next section of AAC, as we discussed earlier, was AAC is just not used for communication, though it is largely meant to develop communication. We have also explored the use of AAC in picking up academics. So here we have the first video of Anand Shiva, where Anand Shiva is using a communication system to learn the concept of time.
Go to time and calendar. Our folder. TikTok. Where is TikTok? 1 hour from 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock.
We have another video of Advait, who is now 14 years of age. And this is a video where he is learning the concept of big and small. The initial part of the video shows how picture-based system was initially introduced to explain the big and small concept, and then how he uses a communication system then to move on forward with it.
This is a big butterfly, that's right. And this is a small butterfly, you are right. And now this is a small tree. Very good, Adu. And this is a big tree. Good job. Why you're closing your ears? This is a big ball. Wonderful. And this is a small ball. Super. And this is a big balloon. And this is a small.
So before we continue further in seeing how parents have used it for academics, we have Gayatri here. Gayatri, a question for you. Are you worried that an AAC system like Avaz will make your child dependent on the device?
Gayatri, are you there? Gayatri?
Okay, I think Gayatri. Okay, Apeksha, would you be willing to take this question? Are you worried that using an AAC system like Avaz make your child dependent on the device?
Oh, yeah. With this question, like if it is more of a requirement for the child, then I think of whether the child is being dependent on device or it is not. See, we are carrying mobile these days, so it is a requirement. So we are not thinking that am I dependent or not, but it is a means for communication. So I carry my mobile, and same is with my kid. If he wants to communicate something with anyone, so it has to be there with him. As it is, like instead of he showing some inappropriate ways to convey them, so it is always better to have appropriate ways to convey it, so that he is more socially acceptable and everyone can. He will make others understand by inappropriate measures. So instead of that, it is always better to make others understand by appropriate measures, so that he is more sociable and he can enjoy his stuff, and others can also like at ease he being around like.
Very well said, Gayatri. I think you're very clear about it. You're not really bothered about whether he's dependent or not. You're more concerned about appropriate and inappropriate behaviors and the clarity in which he would want to respond, or the clarity in which he would want to indicate his needs. I think that is your primary concern or primary aim here. So thank you, Gayatri, for that response. And we will continue with another video of learning concepts. We have Advait counting numbers of object.
Adu, how many boxes here? 1. Very good. Adu, how many clips are here? 3. Very good. Adu, now how many clips? 1. Very good. How many pens are here? How many pens? 1, 2. Okay. One more time, can you do? 2. That's right. Now, how many flasks is here?
Lalita, we can go to the next video.
Now, Adu.
Yeah. So when we, I think this is another common question that I face when, when we talk about using an AAC system. India being a multilingual or at least a bilingual community that most of us belong to, we are constantly worried about how our children would pick up another language. And even if I'm using Hindi at home, how will my child use English at school using a communication system? So here we have Vivan's video where Vivan is translating Hindi to English using a communication system. Yes, Lalita.
Yeah.
Translating English.
She's asking for tum ladka ho. She's asking him to translate it in English.
मैं स्कूल गया था. Will you translate in English?
And she has intentionally not provided the prediction. She wanted them to spell it completely. Yeah, so we could see it, but I think the end of it was cut off.
Yeah, but I think most of you would have got an idea of what we are trying to say. And Lalita, my request would be maybe we will have to cut short some of the videos to get the hint, because we have a couple of videos that we would want to share. Yes. So the next video is about a child named Veer. I mean, this is something that we always wonder, how will my child do certain things that most of his classmates would be doing in the classroom. So this is like an inclusion activity that the children had to do, that is singing national anthem on Independence Day. So here we have Veer. Maybe we will just put on the first line of the national anthem. Yeah.
Janagana mana adinayak jaya hi Bharata bhagya vidhatha Punjab Sindh Gujarat Maratha Dravida Utkala Banga.
Here the mother's, it is a mother's voice that has been recorded on the device.
Yeah.
And he's choosing the right option so that it comes in the correct order.
Yeah.
Now, I'm sorry. The next section of our content would be how.
Preeja, this is a question to Apeksha.
Okay, sorry. Yeah. Yeah, Apeksha, sorry. Apeksha, would you be able to throw some light on how would you propose, or how are you using an AAC system in an inclusive setting? And how are you also dealing with peers when Adyant is using an AAC system in the classroom?
Yeah. In this, there were three participants. One was the school, one was his peers, and the third one was Adyant himself. Since we are training Adyant, we are training, so he was like, okay. With the school, initially, it was like any other teacher. They had questions like, do we need to listen to everything or oblige to whatever he says, or we have to do it? So mine was like, we can just let him say. It is just like any verbal child saying him, I want to see my mama, or I want to go home. It is something like this. So that is okay. So they were like, okay, if this is fine, then we can have look ahead, or we can give it a try for it. But so the school was also convinced when we started with it in classroom. His peers like nothing was predictive with because all our kids, and they were all like enthusiastic to see a device, a kid walking in with an iPad and with all this. Like initially they thought this is something that videos would be there or something. So all were on his device. Adant was getting kind of attention, which he was also enjoying it. But again, when he started using it, his device and all, he started like he was missing his laddu or something in school. So he said, I want bundi laddu. Then a peer next to him, he was like, there's no laddu in school. No laddu. Let's do coloring. They were doing a coloring activity, and the other child, again, he redirected him to the activity. There are times when our kids are also, they come, but they are also like, in a way, they also want to talk to Adyant, like if there is something yes no type of thing, may lu iPad lu, and they go to that yes no section and they type yes, they want Adyant to say yes. So they are like, yes bolna. They like take his hand, like they model it for him, give him prompt. And but it is like they interact with it at times. They take it away also, but which is okay, because he also comes to know that, okay, this is something I can communicate, and the other child can also talk to him. But these both participants, they understand each other well. So like overall, they are, all these parties, they are happy. And so it is for school also, it was easy to manage. Like there was no managing stuff at all. Like these two kids are interacting like any other verbal kids would have interacted.
So you mean to say that now Adyant has better peer interaction, and
Yes.
you're also saying that he has access to a lot more things at school which otherwise would not have been accessible for him without a communication system, right?
Yes, he would have been like in a situation where a kid wants to play with him something, and he doesn't want to participate in that game or something. So initially, instead of just shrugging his body away or pushing the child away, now he can say no on his device. He can say no. The other child also understands no, but again they get into negotiation phase, like yes, or they modify that the game, and then abhi to khelega. It's like then they like, okay, what is your way of play? Let's try. So Adint would have never got a chance to express, like I don't want to play in this manner, but in some another form. Otherwise, he would have never. But with this, he can express. Yeah.
Yeah. To all the participants, we are running a little late. We might extend the session by another 15 minutes. I am noticing all the questions, some of them addressed to the panelists, some of them addressed to the families. We will definitely get back on that. Meanwhile, we'll try to finish up the slides first, and then we will get back. Now, AAC, I mean, the way, how can you use communication system for leisure? So we have the video of Aditi here, playing games with her mother.
So she has a lot of recorded songs in her in Avaz. Yeah, and her mother sings the first line, and she has to identify which song it is and play that song on her device.
दुख ना लगे है
Yeah.
मैं पलकन डगर गुहारूंगा तेरी राह
Preeja, you're able to see?
Yeah, I am there. I think I just lost it in between. Yeah.
Okay,
So,
Gayatri, are you there?
Gayatri, yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Gayatri?
there.
Yeah.
Gayatri, a question for you. During our interaction, you did mention that Varun has few words in his vocabulary. He uses few words for communication. In spite of that, you decided to try a communication system. What was the reason for that?
The first is that many things he used to say through rote, and like although he's verbal also, so first the clarity was not there, and second is he used to just equally whatever we say he will just repeat after us, and the pictures in Avaz, since he cannot read and write as of now, I don't think he can read, so the pictures in Avaz actually helped him to make the choices. And he could select whatever picture he want. He could see the choices and select, and it also made us, the other person, us also understand better what he is asking. So
can you give an example of his verbal output versus a picture output that you felt was not matching, but what he wanted was in the picture?
Yeah, like say he once said, like just like that, he said chips or something. Chips, he said. Then I didn't understand, so I just gave him a choice. Then he was pointing at bhujia. So what he wanted was bhujia, but he knew only chips to say in the verbal thing. So that way it helped him to clearly say what it was. So the choices he could make was better, and we could understand any other person. See what happens when they do this verbal, this thing, as parents we understand, but the stranger or the third party may not be able to understand what he's saying. So the pictures there gave him a lot of clarity, and he also was happy that he was able to make us understand what he wants. Similarly, pain or something, he will just say pain, but then he went inside the folder, pain folder, and so ear pain, teeth pain, that is how we will show the pictures. So that was very big. Otherwise he will just say pain, we don't know what pain, then he will show. But once they introduced the picture, it was much more clear for us to, because he could show through Avaz, through the pictures.
So I think what you want to say is, though he has verbal output, many a times it was an undershoot or an overshoot target for him.
Yes.
And the use of a communication system helped you to definitely understand what he was trying to communicate, right?
Yes.
I think that is what you're trying to say. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Let's now look at the video of Adyant requesting again for his favorite song.
Song.
There you go. Yes.
So the father was satisfying his request. We couldn't hear it very well, but yeah.
Yes. The father understood what Adyant was trying to ask for, and he responded appropriately once the choice was made. Now, AAC can also be used for teaching functional living skills for children. And we have a video of Pranav and his mom, where his mom is trying to teach him shopping skills. Again, we have cut a large part of the video and just focusing on what we are trying to address.
So fix go. Take something. Go.
So this is in Big Bazaar that he's actually.
Yeah. So once again, Gayatri, a question for you, because you are working with functional skills for for Varun. How have you used AAC to teach functional skills?
Yeah, like what happens when we go out, he has to take several things, right? Like say if he's going to work in the godown, though he has to take his keys, then he has to take the iPad, and he has to take the water bottle, bag, everything. So that way, what I started is whenever we have to go out and he has to go for a job, or say he has to go to the gym, so he has to take the various things. So that I created a list and kept it there. So it served as a reminder for him to take all those things and keep it ready, and then go to wherever we are going, he can take that. Similarly, when we are going for a travel, so like a shopping, so he has to carry his bag and all, he has to keep his dress and all. So in that way, we started using Avaz in that skill. Similarly, while he's working also, you want to do more. Sometimes even if they're verbal, sometimes he gets stressed out if he asks the questions. So if the communication thing, it is open, or he himself can go and he will say finish later, or give me a break. All those things are there, the pictures are there, and he could show it. So that is also one more thing used. And sometimes I used to use the shopping list, which just now you showed the video. So shopping list, that also I was doing. He used to go and refer to the shopping list and buy the things that way.
Okay. Yeah. I think the last video for the day today is with piece of Dr. Indu. Basically, she talks about, I think after seeing all these videos, I'm sure most of you must be wondering whether most parents have actually gone into the system and got this kind of an response from the child. So here we have Dr. Indu speaking about her journey specifically with Avaz. Please listen to her perspective and do understand how learning takes a little while. We all make our mistakes using an AAC system with our children, but at the end, how she has been successful with the use of the device. Yes.
My name is Dr. Indu, and I have a 6-year-old son. So we've been using Avaz since last November. So I would like to share our experiences in this journey. Our journey with Avaz was one of ups and downs. And the initial 3 to 4 months period, I would say, I have actually made all the mistakes that a new AAC user would do. And now looking back, I think that was my greatest learning experience. So what I did wrong was that I, first and foremost, I used to prompt a lot. And I would expect my son to say certain things without enough modeling. So I never knew the concept of modeling, and I was always in that prompting mode. So that was the biggest mistake. Now, when looking back, I understand that was the biggest mistake that I have done. Secondly, I chose a very restricted grid size in which I just had only about 4 pictures per screen. And so my idea was that children might be having difficulties in visual discrimination, so not to keep a lot of images on the screen. So I just started with a 4 picture grid, and I realized that my son was having difficulty scrolling up, so he would not have enough pictures on the screen and he wouldn't know what to press. Now, after 3-4 months, I realized that there was no much progress in what we were doing. And he was not using it as a communication device, and it seemed to be another task for him, like every other therapy. So I understood this was not working. Then I decided to get help. That is when I actually started reading about all these AAC strategies, going through a lot of YouTube videos, going through practical AAC website, and finally I decided to take Avaz teletherapy. And I think that was a very good decision that I made, because from the very beginning, the team was very supportive, and they actually made me understand how this has to be done. The first and foremost thing that we did was we changed the grid size from 2 to 25. I would like to thank my speech therapist, Ms. Nayantara, for giving me confidence that I was not very sure about it, whether it would be okay to have 25 pictures on the screen. But she continued to push me, and she helped me presume competence in my child. And I decided to keep the grid size at 25. And to my surprise, I realized that whatever symbols that my son knew, he didn't have difficulty in choosing it from the grid. So it depends on the child, I believe. But I think initially it was wrong on my part not to presume competence. Now, when I saw him started choosing from a 25 grid size, gradually after 2-3 months, I moved to a grid size of 40. And I realized that when they really need something or when they are motivated, they will be able to choose from such a large grid size. Secondly, she insisted on the importance of modeling so much. And then I started reading up about modeling, and then with all the shared articles that she sent me about communicative functions and modeling, I started doing a lot of modeling. And I realized that when I started modeling more, my son started understanding so many symbols more than just his basic needs. And so that has helped him, expand his vocabulary. And then we started like with our daily routines, what all words to model. So since there is a chance to model these words on an everyday basis, we started doing that. And in the run, I found that like when we model more and more, when the child keeps listening to and seeing the same symbols being used on a regular basis, the child becomes familiar with that symbol. And once in a while, my son started using these symbols as well. So that is one thing. And our journey, I would say, is like we just begun the journey. But I'm glad that I made those mistakes in the beginning, and I had a very supportive team who helped me with all the technical aspects as well as the, the communicative aspects too, and they've been through this journey with me, and I would like to thank them all. And also I would like to take this forward so that, communication becomes more easier for my son. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that covers up the set of videos that we had for you all. And before we end this session, before we started.
And I have a 6-year-old son.
Sorry.
So we've been.
I think before we end the session today and open it for question answer session, I would definitely say that we have tried to cover most of the fears or concerns that most of you would be having at this point. And there are one or two questions that I will definitely answer, which has not been covered here in the presentation, and I would definitely cover that at the end. And if you are still having your doubts on how to use the communication system, and is it right option for my child, or will it hamper my child's development, I would request you to go to the website or to the blogs. Avaz has a lot of blogs which you can go through it in detail. A lot of things have been covered up there, and I hope that really helps you to understand this process of introducing and using an augmentative and an alternative communication. Just one point before I wind up is, many a times we restrict our interaction with our children in terms of testing our children. It's mainly a question answer session where I ask and the child has to respond. And that is where we also get a restricted output from our children. I think, Nitin, that is a question that you have raised, is your child has been requesting for most of the communication needs, but possibly that is what has been expected out of him at most times, and that is why he's limited his communication needs at that point. So going back to what Dr. Indus was talking about, how to use modeling, how to prompt, there are strategies to do that. It is not possible for us to cover it in this session, but definitely you can go back to the previous sessions, especially there are some videos of last year's webinars where we have spoken about prompting and modeling. And I think that is the approach that we need to use, and that really helps a child communicate and not just be a responder. Yeah, so shall we take the questions, Lalita?
Yeah. Shall I read it out?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Fareen said he was using Avaz very well, but did he go through speech therapy or not? Okay, I think that was answered.
For Arjit,
yeah. Does any Avaz kid feel any difficulty using that software in school?
I think Apeksha has answered that question. I would also like to mention, I think, Lalita, about the parent who is using Avaz in KV, Kendra Vidyalaya School. Yeah, maybe you could add that example here.
Yeah, so unfortunately, she couldn't join because there was a tragedy in their family today. So otherwise, she was supposed to join the panel. Hers was an amazing story where her child she has two children with autism, and both of them are using Avaz. And how she got this, the special school that she went to had actually recommended that she tries mainstreaming the children. So she approached the Kendriya Vidyalaya in Noida and asked them if they can, if the children can be considered, because they did pretty well. She said, I mean, she was so emphatic in saying that unless you give my children a chance to answer, I mean, she said they are nonverbal, can they take the interview questions in Avaz? Because she said that they said, no, I don't think they can do it. But she said, no, I am sure that they can answer your questions, but you're not giving them a chance. So she insisted they have to get the chance. And she's not willing to take no for an answer. So she got them to give a chance, and they took them in, and now they have joined KV because they answered their questions through Avaz in the interview. So which was a great step forward.
Yeah, and I think also Apeksha's aspect of how she has used the communication system in the inclusive school is also something worth, it's quite inspiring for us, and how Adyant now has access to adaptive assessments. I think that is a good example for us to look at. The next question is AAC useful for low functional autism? See, AAC has no prerequisites. So whether your child is low functioning, high functioning, intermediate functioning, that doesn't have any hold when you're looking at a communication system. It is just about how you use the communication system for the child. Maybe you might find it difficult to start with typing, or maybe the written part of the word, but the pictures are something that you can start with and help the child associate the pictures to his communication needs. So the functionality of a child is not at all a question here.
Next question from Akila.
Yeah.
More technical, related to Avaz. Whenever one types on Avaz, how does one convert it into a saved document that can be accessed later? So Akila, you can actually just do a copy and paste. So whenever you tap the message bar to speak it out, it automatically copies it to clipboard. And then that can be just pasted into another document. Yeah, document-wise, that's the way we suggest. Or you can even do a share. Now that there is a share option that you can share with any app, you can share it, but it will go as an individual document into each app. Into each document it gets stored. So you can share it directly into a notes document or a Word document. Next question from Lakshmi. In academics, is the child able to relate the visual and audio, or is using only audio clues?
It's a tough question because we don't know what is the learning pattern of your child. Some of our children are visual, some of our children are auditory learners, some of them are mixed learners. It all depends on child to child, but a combination of audio and visuals always help because you are giving a multisensorial stimulation to a child. But sometimes some of our children in the spectrum might not like the Zoom aspect or the audio aspect of it. That is something that has to be customized for the child's challenges. So academics being largely visual in the initial stages, especially when you're talking of, say, learning concepts as compared to creative writing, I would say it is easier for children to pick up academics because you have an audio and a visual going together on a communication system like Avaz.
Yeah.
Nitin's question, I think we have addressed. I hope, Nitin, I have answered your question. I would advise you again to start with modeling and the prompting hierarchy, which will help your child to move from being a responder to a communicator.
Okay. And the last question from Nitin, is it friendly enough for CP kids? A fellow parent said CP kids have different challenges, so they're not sure to try. Anything you can suggest?
It all depends on the motoric limitation that this cerebral palsy condition puts onto the child. So we have children with cerebral palsy who have issues pointing, choosing the proper picture on the screen. Then we will have to look at some other forms wherein the child can access the picture. So sometimes we have children with CP who have difficulty scanning the screen. So depending on the challenges, we will have to look at a communication system which is suitable for the child's motoric capability and then move ahead.
Yeah. And thanks. Amreen says, how can we access the previous videos related to tips and strategies for using AAC? There are a lot of videos and you can see them all on our FAQ on our website. So you can please take a look. There are even Avaz user videos. There are strategy videos. So a lot of videos. You can even go into YouTube and there is a playlist called How to Start Using Avaz. So there's a lot of videos on tips on using that as well.
Next question is Omar's, asking about whether intellectual disability, children with intellectual disability can use AAC. Definitely they can use. Again, saying the same sentence again, there is no prerequisite for, or there is no limitation to choosing an AAC system. It is just that you need to figure out what works best for your child. There is no fixed solution here. We will have to explore which communication options helps your child to communicate, and that is something that either you as a parent or take a support of a professional and explore your child's ability. I think Lakshmi's question we have answered.
Going to the chat, a couple of them have asked. What Kantima has says, what if the child has severe apraxia and navigation across folders is a challenge? How can I help him?
Hi, Kanti. I know what this question for a speech language pathologist would mean. Apraxia definitely means that a child has a programming difficulty. So just like how our children are taught certain steps to be done, like for example, if you're teaching a child brushing skill, there are steps that we teach the child. Possibly we use visuals, possibly we use verbal prompt, whatever we are using, there are steps that we follow, and then we follow that regularly, so that becomes an automatic command for the child. On similar lines, children with even severe apraxia learn to navigate through folders and choose the option that they want. It is just that our request is that don't change the folders constantly. Once you put in the folder, let that remain there and you practice on the same path that you would want the child to follow. That is something that really helps the child to remember the program to access the folder. I think I have answered that question for you, Kanti.
Last question, Payal says, how can we make the child learn navigation in the app while the child is having less attention, skill and focus?
Yeah, so as I said earlier, there are no prerequisites for learning AAC. So if you're looking at developing attention to access AAC, you don't have to do it. You can work on the child's attention by using the AAC system itself. Maybe you can't have, say, a four-step to reach the option. Maybe you can start with smaller folders. As you move ahead, add on to more steps into the folder. Start with small steps activity and then move on to a hierarchy of higher level activity. That should help your child develop attention. Again, attention is a very subjective topic. You can't really talk about attention in terms of I have a 5-minute attention versus I have a 30-second attention. It is all about meeting your needs. I think if a child gets his needs met using a communication system, you have got enough attention to get that going.